As you all certainly know by now, April 8th, there's going to be another solar eclipse, and I've seen many of these over my years, but never with so many government warnings to be prepared. Make sure you have 3 to 5 days food on hand. What is this? Now, before we get into it, I do want to thank our sponsor, ES Power Drink, for not just supporting this channel, but ES Power Drink was created by a friend of mine who lost 110 pounds in 7 months drinking ES Power Drink. And as some of you may or may not know, I'm dealing with some major heart issues that I'm trying to combat physically, not with surgery, but through heavy exercise, through diet, and through prayer. And ES Power Drink is a big part of that, because being able to put down Trinidad scorpion peppers has tremendous health benefits. So I want to thank Chris, who made ES Power Drink. That link is below. If you want to lose weight, get better sleep, have a better outlook on life, have better health, all because you're able to put down a Trinidad scorpion pepper, which I could not do if I just chowed one. I could not do that, at least comfortably. This is actually a good drink. I could drink these all day long. And you're still reaping the benefit of that Trinidad scorpion pepper. So thank you for that, ES Power Drink, and that link is below. Over the years, I've seen many solar eclipses. I remember as a small child, being told not to look at it, and it must not have been near there because I don't recall it getting dark. I just remember being told not to look at it. And I remember around 3rd or 4th grade and in elementary school, we made these little devices where you poked a tiny hole in it so you can look at it. And I've seen a few, and they're darn interesting to see, especially the total eclipses. The last one, I was in kind of the southern Missouri area. It was the perfect spot for it. And even all the traffic lights came on. It was just fascinating, or the street lights. But something peculiar about this one. As a Christian, as a prophetic watchman, I'm looking for the signs. And what I can say about the eclipse is that it appears to be just another eclipse when it comes to prophetic things. But there's one particular aspect of this that kind of made me wonder, what is happening here? More so, my wife was driving across the state recently, and she called me. She says she keeps seeing billboards talking about to prepare. You got to prepare. And all over, we're seeing service announcements from state government, from federal government, from city government. Governments all around this country are warning their citizens to be prepared for the upcoming eclipse. Now, all the eclipses I've seen, pretty much what took place was it got kind of dark for about 3 to 5 minutes, and it was entertaining. And that's it. That's all that happened. And when you look at the entire time that we've had eclipses in my lifetime, I don't recall ever the government warning us to be prepared, saying have 3 to 5 days worth of food. Well, I recall 3 to 5 minutes worth of entertainment out of the last eclipse. So when my wife called me and she was telling me that she's concerned, I kind of laughed and I said, well, what are you actually concerned about? Like, you've been through these. They're like 3 to 5 minutes of kind of darkness. It's just interesting, if anything. I mean, a thunderstorm, warning us about a thunderstorm would be more realistic. What is it you're worried about? And her response was that because we've been through so many of these and there's never been these types of warnings, at least that we've seen. I do want to take a moment. If you've seen in the past eclipses all sorts of government warnings like billboards and things like that, public service announcements on the radio and TV, warning you to have 3 to 5 days worth of preparations on hand, put it in the comments below. I don't recall that ever happening. And that's what had her concerned, is that why is the government warning us of something that's, it's just a 3 to 5 minute entertaining event. And everything that we're seeing regarding these warnings has to do with, like, well, because there's small towns that might have big population growth over that few moments. I don't think that's it. And I think this is what really has her concerned, is that she communicated is that nothing about the eclipse worries her. It's that what is it that the government knows that we don't know? She says that it seems like it, and I get this, because there's all these warnings and they just don't make any sense. You know, warning, be ready, have 3 to 5 days worth of food by April 8th. And I told her, I said, well, don't you remember Y2K? She said, well, that one I at least understood, because they said, computers may crash, may or may not, we don't know. And turns out that nothing happened. But she said at least that there was an explanation for the warnings. Here, there's no explanation for the warnings other than beware. Your town of 3,000 might be a town of 4,000. Beware. This just doesn't make any sense to me. So I guess I'm just going to take a moment and say, do be prepared, obviously, for any event, whether it be this one or not. There's certain things you can do. I think it's always wise to have 3 to 5 days worth of food and water on hand. It's always wise to have emergency antibiotics on hand. It's always wise to have your cars filled with gas. There's just some little things you can do to say, well, what is it about these warnings? Because I don't know. I truly don't know. I would like to know, why is it? I mean, there's a lot of money going into advertising these warnings. I've paid for billboards in the past, and they're not cheap. And when you have billboards across the whole country warning you, be ready, and you have these radio commercials and little YouTube ads and TV ads all popping up telling you to be ready on April 8th to make sure you have plenty of food and water on hand. I don't know. Again, as a prophetic watchman, I don't, I always find these fascinating. I always think God is trying to tell us something in the stars, because, we're about to see Orion change, which is a very prophetic thing. Obviously, eclipses are prophetic, but really what I'm looking for is the darkening of the earth. That's a totally different event. That's like not like the moon blocks the sun. It's like a curtain rolls up, like smoke or clouds of something just covers the entire planet, making it just the whole thing dark, for quite a while. So, and that's very prophesied about, but that's not what this is. That's definitely not what this is. So, but if you happen to know, not meaning to get off track there, but, if you're looking for that kind of answer, that I know the government is not looking for sure. But it seems like this is just strange that I'm not worried about the eclipse at all. I am concerned about all these public warnings that the government's got going on. That doesn't make any sense to me. So any thoughts or insight on that, definitely put that below. It's, it can't just be, warning there might be a population growth in your town if you're at the center of the eclipse. It's got to be more than that, because we've all been dealing with that our whole lives. So any thoughts or insight, definitely put it below. I do want to take a moment and say, if you feel called to support this channel to Patreon, that link is below. The way that the algorithm works with YouTube is numbers for gun channels just keep going down and down and down. And it's things like Patreon that allow us to continue to put out the content that we know that you want, versus putting out the content that feeds the algorithm. It greatly improves that. So thank you for your support on those of you who are supporting this channel through Patreon. But if you feel called to support this channel, that link is below. But the most important part of this channel, we take prayer requests. So never hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.